Welcome to Michael's Kids Club Winter Workshop. Today we will make a polar bear gift bag. Join us for all 12 days of merry making. Enjoy!
Hi, my name's Megan, and today we're going to make a polar bear gift bag together. This polar bear gift bag is so sweet and furry, and it's going to be a lot of fun to make. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to need for today's project. First, go ahead and print out the template we're going to use today. Then you'll need some white craft fur for our polar bear, some pink and black sticky back adhesive foam, some white felt, some wiggle eyes, and of course some scissors, glue, and a pencil. We're going to start by cutting out all the pieces on our template. So this large piece at the top is going to be the polar bear's head, and included in the polar bear's head is going to be the little ears at the top. So I'm cutting around the top of the head and around another polar bear ear. There we go, just like that. And around the top and the other side of the head. And this is the piece we'll use for our polar bear head. Now these other pieces down here are going to be for the hands and also for the polar bear's nose. So here's one hand. Cutting around that. There we go. And here is another polar bear hand. And finally, the polar bear's nose. All right, now we have all the pieces of our template cut out and ready to start tracing. So here we go. Now that we have our pieces cut out, I'm going to take my white fur and I'm going to put the fuzzy side of the fur face down. So there are a couple pieces you either need to cut or snap open. And I'm going to put the fur fuzzy side down, and we are going to be tracing the head. So notice how the head is a circle and the ears are actually going to be made out of felt. So we don't need to include the ears in the fuzzy part. We just need one big circle of fuzzy and the arms of the fuzzy, and the rest we're going to do in other materials. So you can take the head and you can take the two arms and place them onto your fur. Make sure it's fuzzy side down, and then you can trace with a pencil. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see my pencil lines very well. Oh, I think you will be able to. So I'm going to start by going around the ear. So I'm not going to be drawing the ear because remember that part's going to be made out of felt, but I am going to go around the big circle for the polar bear's head. And that's going to be the main focus of your gift bag. Then I'm going to go up to the ear and stop right there. And so you see you have these two little spaces. So I bet you can easily figure out how to fill in the rest of the circle by connecting those two spaces together. And then we have two pieces that are going to be like hands. So I'm going to put them so that the straight line of the arms is going up and down because we want it to kind of go with the flow of the fur underneath here where I'm tracing right now. So there's one and there's another one. And then we are ready to get started cutting our fur out. So you're going to be using your scissors, and this is pretty thick to cut through, so if you need some help from a grown-up, please make sure that you ask. I'm going to start by cutting the circle, and this will start to get a little fluffy and get a little bit of fur on your table, so you might want to be working on top of a piece of paper or something like that. But right now I'm cutting around this circle, and I'm basically giving the polar bear a haircut. I'm cutting all of the polar bear's fur into the shape of this head, giving it a haircut. And when I flip it over, you'll be able to see what we just did. So this is the big circle for the polar bear's head, and yes, look what we did. All of this fur nicely coming down this way. Some of it might shed a little bit, and that's normal, that's okay. Just don't try and pull too much of it off because it will start making a mess. So here we go with our beautiful furry head. Then I'm gonna go back to the fur and I'm gonna cut out the two little hands. So I'm cutting along kind of a straight line, and then it gets a little rounded at the end. And you can decide if these arms are going to be too long or too short, and you can kind of move them around on the bag in order to make them where you want them to be. Pretty. It's fun working with this fur, huh? Then I'm going to cut the straight line. I'm going to cut along the curve, cut along this straight line, and I have my second arm for the bag. Yay! Oh my goodness, how cute. You can keep some of this fur off to the side, and maybe you can add it on to something or use it in a costume or add it on to a different craft project. So we have our polar bear face and our two arms, and the next thing we're going to do is work with our sticky back foam and our felt. So the ears are going to be cut out of white felt. So here's my white felt, and I'm going to go back to this template, and I am going to trace around the two ears. So I'm going to trace around this ear, and I'm going to trace around this ear, and then I'm going to lift this up, and you can see where we should draw in the lines. So here is one of the lines, and here is the other line. And we have our two polar bear ears made out of white felt that we can cut. Here's one. Nice and round. The polar bear ear is just a nice, almost a perfect half circle. Very, very round. And then over here we have our second ear. And it too is nice and round. And there we go. So we have our two polar bear ears. Next, we're going to use our sticky back foam, and we're going to do the inside part of the ears. So since we're done with everything we need for our face and for the ears, we can actually cut these ears off. And then in order to make the pink sticky back foam, we want these pink ears to fit inside of the white ears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them the same size, and then I'm going to cut them down a little bit so that we have some of the white felt showing around the pink ears. So I'm going to take my pink sticky back foam and I'm going to turn it over to the paper side. And I'm going to trace both of these ears, but I know that these two ears are both too big because they're the exact size of the ear that we have right now. So I'm going to go ahead and make each one of these a little bit smaller than what I just drew so that when they fit inside, they'll be the inner part of the ear. So I'm going to cut closer than what the line actually is. So I'm leaving the line on the paper and I'm kind of trimming around. So see how I left all that extra right there? So now I have something that's going to fit inside of the white felt. Pretty cool, huh? Then I'm gonna cut, and remember we're cutting inside of the lines. Have you ever done that? Cutting inside of the lines instead of on the line? And I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller than what the pattern is. And then this is going to give us another little piece that will fit inside of the other ear. While we're at our sticky back foam, we can make our giant black nose. So here's my black foam, and I'm going to turn this black foam over. And then you have one more piece from your template that looks like this, and this is going to be the big polar bear nose. So on the paper side of your black foam, go ahead and trace that nose. And then you can cut it out. And I think we have all the pieces and we're ready to assemble our polar bear gift bag. So you're going to have some cute wiggle eyes. That's my favorite part. That's always my favorite part. And you're going to glue all of this onto your bag. It's time to put all of the pieces together. So I have a blue bag that has handles. You don't have to use a blue bag. If you have a different color bag, you can. But my bag is about 8 inches wide, and that's the size that we used in order to make sure that the polar bear's head fits onto this bag. So if you have a smaller bag, you're going to need it to make a smaller head in order for yours to fit. But if you have a blue bag or a bag like this that's about 8 inches wide, you're ready to do the final step, which is going to be attaching all the pieces. So let's start by laying them out. Here's our cute little polar bear face. We have the white felt, which are going to be the polar bear's ears. And then we have the pink sticky back foam, which is going to be the inner ears. We have this big polar bear nose, and we have 2 arms. So we can place them on our bag. Oh my goodness, it's starting to look so cute. And we need 2 eyes. So let me open up my bag of wiggle eyes and get 2 of these big guys ready. Yes. And yes. Adorable. So cute. All right, I'm gonna start by taking the sticky back pieces and taking off the backer paper. So you just peel off that paper, and then this is a big giant sticker. It's very sticky. So once you stick it down, it's staying in place. Take off the white backing paper of the other pink inner ear and place it into the white felt. I'm also going to put the nose. Before I put the nose down, if you have some hair that's kind of like extra and hanging off, that's a little too long, you can give your polar bear a little bit of a trim. And you can cut some of those extra hairs down and then just kind of sweep them off to the side. Or you can leave it hairy because it's a bear, and you know, bears have a lot of hair. But I'm going to take the black nose and I'm going to peel off the paper, and I'm going to put the nose right about here. And then I'm going to glue down these wiggle eyes. So putting a big thing of glue on this one and putting a big bit of glue, not piece of glue, big bit of glue over here. And I have cute little eyes. I'm going to go ahead and glue the circle down. So I'm putting some glue all the way around the circle of the polar bear's head. A little bit in the middle too, like a little swirl. And then I'm going to flip it over and try and put it in the center, maybe a little towards the top. And yes, and some of this fur will start to kind of fall away, and that's okay. It will eventually settle down. And then we have our 2 hands. So this hand has a lot of extra hair right here, so I'm going to trim that a little bit. It's got some extra hair that I'll trim down. Fabulous. And then you can also decide if you want to make your arm a little bit shorter and fit off the bag. So if I want to tilt the arm a little bit like this, I can go ahead and just cut a straight line this way so that the bear's arm fits nicely right there. And then I can add some glue just around the edge. There we go. And now this little arm is kind of pointing down, or maybe it's giving a little hug. It's hugging the bag. And then over here, there's a little bit of extra hair too, so I'm gonna kind of trim this. Make sure you're trimming either directly into a trash bag or onto a piece of paper that you can throw that away so that it doesn't get all over the place. And then you can decide how you want to position this arm, but I think I want to position it down also. So I'm gonna cut another little bit over here. Aw, so cute. And then I'll have my glue. And go ahead and glue the arm down onto the bag. Can you imagine getting this bag with a gift in it? I mean, the bag itself is such a fun gift. Then we have our ears. So we just have the little felt piece here that I'll put some glue around the edge. Maybe a little bit of the middle, and position this ear up here. And I'll take this one and put some glue around the edge, and maybe just a little dab in the middle. And we have our next ear. So we've just made our polar bear gift bag. Go ahead and let it dry for a little bit, and then you can start to open up the bag and start figuring out what gifts you're going to put inside of this fun bag. So thanks for coming to Winter Workshop today and making this gift bag. We hope you come back and make all of the Winter Workshop projects. See you soon. Bye.